Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. In this podcast, I'll be talking about core players who could be on the move. In this podcast, I'll be talking about some core players who could be on the move since the NHL Trade Deadline is fast approaching. Vancouver Canucks forward JT Miller is at the center of trade discussions. Reports indicate that the Canucks are open to offers for both JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, with Miller being the more likely candidate for a trade. The New York Rangers have shown interest in reacquiring Miller, who was drafted by the Rangers. However, potential obstacles, including salary cap considerations and the Canucks' high asking price, could complicate such a move. The Boston Bruins are also exploring the possibility of acquiring Miller to address their need for a top-line center. Miller's offensive skills and experience make him an attractive option, but the Bruins' limited trade assets may hinder their ability to finalize a deal. Additionally, reports suggest the Canucks are open to trading Miller within the conference, though this might come with certain conditions. Overall, while interest in JT Miller is significant, various factors including team needs, salary cap constraints, and trade assets will influence the likelihood and destination of any potential trade. The biggest factor in deciding whether or not Miller is moved is JT himself, as he has a full no-trade clause in the first 4 years of his 7-year contract he signed on September of 2022, which would bind him to Vancouver until the end of the 29-30 season. New York Rangers center Mika Zibanejad has been the subject of various trade rumors. Notable reports indicated earlier this season that the Rangers had offered Zibanejad to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for JT Miller. However, this proposal did not materialize in a trade due to Zibanejad rejecting a trade to Vancouver. Despite the circulating rumors, Zibanejad has addressed the speculations, expressing his commitment to the Rangers and highlighting that he had earned his no-move clause. As of now, he has not waived this clause, indicating his intention to remain with the team. The Rangers have initiated a retooling phase, exemplified by the recent trade of captain Jacob Trouba to the Anaheim Ducks. While this indicates a willingness to make significant roster changes, Zibanejad's current stance suggests that he will continue to be a part of the Rangers moving forward. Furthermore, Zibanejad's contract will be one of the main hurdles that prevents the Rangers from making any type of trade involving him, because they cannot trade or reassign him without his consent. New York Islanders center Brock Nelson is a prominent figure in trade discussions leading up to the NHL Trade Deadline. Nelson, 33, is in the final year of his contract and will be a UFA on July 1st. His status as a top 6 center makes him a valuable asset for teams seeking to bolster their roster for a playoff push. Frank Saravelli has ranked Nelson as the premier trade target, highlighting the scarcity of available centers and the high demand for a player of his caliber. The Minnesota Wild have emerged as a potential destination given Nelson's roots in Warroad, Minnesota, and the team's need for depth at center. Wild GM Bill Guerin, who selected Nelson for Team USA's Four Nations Face-Off, has shown interest, and Nelson might be open to signing an extension with his hometown team. Despite Nelson's 6-team no-trade clause, Islanders GM Lou Lamoriello holds leverage due to the high demand for centers. The Islanders are reportedly seeking a first-round pick in any deal involving Nelson, reflecting his value on the market. However, some analysts argue that trading Nelson to the Wild may not align with the Islanders' strategic goals, as it could strengthen a potential competitor. Nelson is currently experiencing a scoring slump, extending his goalless streak to 17 games. While he remains optimistic, this decline in performance may influence trade discussions. As the March 7th trade deadline approaches, the Islanders' position in the standings and loose assessment of the team's playoff prospects will be critical in determining Nelson's future with the team. Winnipeg Jets winger Nikolai Ehlers has been the subject of trade speculation, particularly due to his contract status. Reports indicate that Ehlers is not interested in signing a contract extension with the Winnipeg Jets, making him a potential trade candidate. The Buffalo Sabres have emerged as a potential trade destination for Ehlers. Analysts suggest that Ehlers' speed and transition game align well with the Sabres' playing style, and his $6 million cap hit fits within their budget. Speculations indicate possible trade packages involving top prospects Yuri Kulich and Noah Ostlund. The Detroit Red Wings have also been mentioned in trade discussions. A proposed deal would see the Red Wings acquiring Ehlers, with the Jets receiving prospects Michael Nygaard and Elmer Soderblom in return. This trade would bolster the Red Wings' top six forward group as they aim to end their playoff drought. Despite the trade rumors, though, some reports suggest that Ehlers will likely remain a Jet until the end of the 24-25 season. Analysts note that while trade speculations still exist, the odds lean towards Ehlers staying in Winnipeg. Since the Jets are currently first in the Central Division and are primed for a deep playoff run, I could see the Winnipeg Jets hanging on to Ehlers until the end of the season. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at HockeyWiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/HockeyWiz777scouting. Buffalo Sabres center Dylan Cozens has been a focal point in trade discussions. NHL insider Elliot Friedman has discussed the potential trade scenarios involving Cozens, providing insights into the dynamics between the Sabres and interested teams. Reports indicate that the Detroit Red Wings and Sabres were close to finalizing a deal involving Cozens before the NHL's holiday freeze. Additionally, the Calgary Flames have also expressed interest in acquiring Cozens, identifying him as a top trade target. The Flames' pursuit underscores the league-wide recognition of Cozens' potential impact. As the trade deadline approaches, Cozens' situation remains fluid, with multiple teams monitoring his availability. The Sabres' decision in the coming weeks will significantly influence Cozens' future in the NHL. Dylan Cozens is currently signed to a 7-year, $49.7 million extension with the Sabres, and his deal does not have a no-trade or no-move clause, which gives the Sabres all the flexibility in the world to trade him. Anaheim Ducks goaltender John Gibson is once again at the center of trade discussions leading up to the March 7th NHL trade deadline. The emergence of 24-year-old goaltender Lukas Dostal has intensified speculations about Gibson's future with the team. The Hurricanes have reportedly shown interest in acquiring Gibson to bolster their goaltending depth, especially considering the injury concerns with Frederik Andersen. However, discussions may hinge on the Ducks' willingness to retain a portion of Gibson's $6.4 million annual cap hit, which extends through the 26-27 season. Given that Gibson hails from Pittsburgh, a move to the Penguins has been a topic of speculation. With the team's goaltending inconsistencies over the past several years, a trade involving Tristan Jarry and Gibson has also been speculated. The Edmonton Oilers have been linked to John Gibson as well in trade discussions, who are aiming to address their goaltending needs. Reports indicate that Gibson would consider waiving his no-move clause. Reports indicate that Gibson would consider waiving his no-trade to join Edmonton, and the Ducks might be open to retaining salary to facilitate a deal. While Gibson has been a mainstay for the Ducks, the combination of his contract, the team standings, and the rise of Dostal suggests that a trade could be more plausible this season. However, any move would require navigating financial considerations and aligning with Gibson's limited no-move clause. John Gibson would be a superb addition to any contending team, as he can be a great goalie for a contender. Chicago Blackhawks forward Taylor Hall is a prominent figure in trade discussions as the NHL's March 7th trade deadline approaches. Hall is a former Hart Trophy winner and has been performing at a high level in the recent stretch, which has increased his appeal to potential suitors. Hall's resurgence has led to speculation about his potential departure from the Blackhawks. His performance could make him a valuable asset for teams seeking to strengthen their roster ahead of the playoffs. While specific teams have not been linked to Taylor Hall, his skill set and experience makes him an attractive option for contenders looking to bolster their forward core. Teams in need of a veteran presence and offensive depth may consider pursuing a trade for Hall, and while Hall may not be a star player anymore, he shows flashes of his former self, which makes him a perfect fit on a contending team, especially if Chicago is willing to retain a portion of his salary in order to get a better return. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman Ivan Provorov is a focal point in trade discussions as the trade deadline approaches. Provorov is a 27-year-old veteran defenseman in the final year of his 6-year, $40.5 million contract, with the Blue Jackets paying him $4.725 million annually, due to a 30% salary retention by the LA Kings. Reports indicate that the Blue Jackets are open to trading Provorov and are seeking a first-round pick in return. However, Provorov's agent has expressed that the defenseman is not actively seeking a trade and is content with his current situation. While specific teams have not been publicly linked to Provorov, his skill set and experience makes him an attractive option for contending teams looking to bolster their D-core. Teams in need of veteran presence and defensive depth may consider pursuing a trade for Provorov as deadline approaches. It's important to note that while the Blue Jackets are in a playoff spot, it would only take a brief losing streak to sink them to the bottom of the standings in the Eastern Conference. Since Columbus has never been able to retain their UFAs, it might be best for them to trade away Provorov for something. Montreal Canadiens defenseman David Savard is a prominent figure in trade discussions as the trade deadline approaches. At 34 years old, Savard is in the final year of a 4-year, $14 million contract with an annual cap hit of $3.5 million. Reports indicate that the Canadiens have not engaged in contract extensions with Savard. Reports indicate that the Canadiens have not engaged in contract talks with Savard, suggesting that he could become a UFA on July 1st. Savard's potential departure from Montreal has been a topic of discussion, especially following his early exit from a practice session on January 2nd, 2025. While this could be routine, it has fueled speculation about a possible trade. The Edmonton Oilers are reportedly seeking a right-shot defenseman, and Savard's profile aligns with their need. The Toronto Maple Leafs are another team that are considered a fit for Savard, who could provide valuable depth for their D-core. The Dallas Stars are another team that could benefit from Savard's experience and defensive capabilities. Given the Canadiens' recent acquisition of defenseman Alexander Carrier and the emergence of other younger prospects, trading Savard could be a strategic move to bolster the team's future prospects. Trading Savard would make sense for a rebuilding Canadiens team and could help them to acquire more picks and prospects. Seattle Kraken forward Yanni Gourde is a notable figure in trade discussions as the trade deadline approaches. Gourde is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning and has been performing well this season, recording 5 goals and 10 assists in 32 games. Gourde holds a modified no-trade clause, allowing him to veto trades to 23 teams. Reports indicate that he would be open to a move to the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team seeking depth at the center position, and strengthen their third-line center position. His playoff experience and physical style of play aligns with the team's need. The Devils are also a fit for Yanni Gourde, as they are a team in need of depth on the roster as they pursue a Stanley Cup run. Yanni Gourde will certainly be one of the most coveted players on the trade block due to his versatility and Stanley Cup pedigree. The Kraken's decision to move him will depend on various factors, including their own playoff aspirations and the return they seek in a trade. San Jose Sharks forward Mikael Granlund is a prominent figure in trade discussions as the trade deadline approaches. The 32-year-old Finnish center is in the final year of his 4-year, $20 million contract with an annual cap hit of $5 million. He has been performing well this season, recording 11 goals and 33 points in 35 games. Granlund's strong performance has made him an attractive target for teams seeking depth at the center position. His versatility to play all 3 forward positions adds to his appeal as well. However, the Sharks face a decision. Trading Granlund could yield valuable assets, but his leadership and experience are also beneficial to the team's development of their younger players. The Wild, Granlund's former team, have been mentioned as a potential destination. Their familiarity with his game and a need for a center makes this a plausible option. The Nashville Predators are also seen as a potential landing destination. The Predators, another one of Granlund's former teams, are seen as a potential landing spot as well, given their familiarity with his style and the current roster needs. The Vegas Golden Knights are considered a fit for Granlund as well, who could provide valuable depth to the roster. Granlund's decision to waive his no-trade clause will be significant in any potential move. His performance leading up to the trade deadline will influence strategy regarding his future with the team. Moreover, Granlund's cap hit is another factor in a Granlund trade, as contenders most likely will not be willing to take on all of his cap hit, so they will need to find a third team to facilitate a move. Since San Jose has used up all 3 of their salary retentions. Since San Jose is not in a playoff spot and have a clear youth movement going on, it makes sense to trade him. Listen to Hockey Whiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/@HockeyWhizTravels. It'll be interesting to see what big names get moved at the trade deadline and which ones stay put after so much news and speculation in the media that happens with these players. In my next podcast, I'm going to be talking about why the Boston Bruins are struggling to score this season.